People who are dating someone with a same-sex twin. Are you attracted to them? How do you cope with that? Dated a girl who has an identical twin. Weirdest thing that happened was when I came to pick her up at her place. I thought she was the one who answered the door. Called her babe and leaned in for a kiss. She shoved her hand to my chest and said, "Whoa. I'm not Chelsea." It was goddamn awkward after that. Told my so what happened and she laughed her ass off. I know. My wife has a twin sister. They are both pretty attractive, but I never was interested in the sister. I almost smacked her butt a few times when we were all together. Thankfully it hasn't happened yet. Edit, has a twin. Not had a twin. She's still living. No, she didn't get a gender reassignment. You guys are savage. Sounds like you guys have to set up some rules in those situations where your wife and sister have to wear drastically different colored pants. I used to date a girl with a twin. Like both of them were 10/10. The threesome question was always on my mind, and one day I got drunk enough to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. Turns out she was down for it and her twin was an all-around great guy. I was talking to a twin and I asked her out to a movie date. She brought a twin, and when we were chatting after the movie I realized I liked the other one's personality better and dated her. It was a little awkward after that. I actually dated an identical triplet. Thankfully they all had very different styles and kept different hair colors. So I never got my girlfriend confused with her two sisters. I'd be a liar if I said the thought of a foursome with 3 different variations of my girlfriend never crossed my mind. My ex had an identical twin. And I didn't find her attractive at all. Perhaps weirdly. They looked exactly alike. But had such incredibly different voices. I only once ever got them confused. And it was a doozy. They had a habit of wearing each other's clothes, which is, I mean, come on now. Why would you do that to us? The 3 of us were cooking together. I stepped away to use the bathroom. I come back and I approach the wrong twin from behind as she's chopping something. My GF was in the other room talking to our guests, and I place my hand on her back and say, "Hi sweetie." The wrong twin whips around with a knowing smile and says hi. And then just goes back to chopping. I was clearly very embarrassed and just kinda blanked out. And she just turned around and kept chopping. I think the knowing smile was an "hey, I get it. It happens. Don't worry" kind of smile. When I told my GF, she found it hilarious and made fun of me for a long time about it. And I kept saying, "Why would she be wearing your favorite shirt?" I dated a girl with an identical twin sophomore year of college. It was hard to tell them apart, even for their parents. They even dressed alike and ate the same type of food and listened to identical music. The attraction was there equally. But the girl I was dating said, "Think of us as 2 dishes of identical ice cream. You can stick your spoon into one. But not both." It's not as confusing or tempting as anyone may think. They look the same. My parents still mix them up after 10 years, but different personalities. Fun fact. My brother ended up with her twin anyways. I once dated an identical twin. I'm a girl. He was a guy. No. I didn't fancy his brother. Don't know who said it. But I don't love her because she's beautiful. She's beautiful because I love her. Or in this case him. I did get that little skip of the heart in brief moments I saw his brother and thought it was him. But as soon as I realized. No. Completely different personalities. Don't get me wrong. I obviously thought that they were both good looking. But there was no attraction to the twin. At all. Edit, think I'm the only heterosexual woman in this thread. I briefly dated a twin and she once said to me, "So if you didn't know me at all, but you knew my sister instead, you'd be going out with her, not me, right?" The truth is, yes, obviously I was physically attracted to both of them since they were identical. And you cope with it by knowing the person you're dating on a deeper level. Obviously more than just thinking about her looks and body. At least for me that was it. Kinda. I found her attractive, but she was a different person. So half of what I was attracted to changed. I'm a woman married to a female twin. Her and her sister do look a lot alike in the face and body wise, but have always had extremely different styles. It's easy to tell them apart because my wife has long, curly natural hair and her twin keeps hers short. Plus it's dyed and straightened. The most confusion is when we are together. Not because of the way they look, but because they also happen to have a very similar voice. If we are all hanging out, my wife and I, her sister and the husband, whenever one of the girls says babe, my brother-in-law and I both look. Upon first meeting them, I actually saw the twin I'm not married to first. I thought she was cute, but didn't get gay vibes, so imagine my delight when there was a single gay replica. Nowadays, they are both still very attractive. But of course my wife is more beautiful to me because I'm in love with not only her looks, but her soul, her personality, and all her little quirks. I used to date a girl with an identical same-sex twin. Most people couldn't tell the difference between them, and couldn't understand why I was attracted to one, but not the other. I could tell them apart though, and to me the one I was dating was far more attractive. I think in reality, it was probably that I was attracted to her personality more than her twins, and that in turn caused her to be physically more attractive. Edit. One simple tautology and no one wants to talk about anything else. I'm leaving it lol. I've only dated one guy who was an identical twin and I almost slept with his brother. Story time. The first time Jim and I hooked up we were both tipsy and I wasn't familiar yet with the layout of his house. It was a small one-story house with the kitchen living room on one end, and 3 bedrooms with a bathroom on the other. From left to right it was the bathroom, his mother's room, his room and then his brother's. I got up to pee and this is where the duck up happens. I couldn't see that well in the dark hallway and being that their rooms are right next to each other I got confused and went into the brother's room. I lay down next to him, naked, and he starts getting all handsy and I'm like, okay, round 2. He was on autopilot being half asleep when all of a sudden I made a reference to something. I can't recall what it was, and it seemed to snap him out of it. Wait, are you looking for Jim? Yes. Wait, is this Nick? We both proceed to laugh at the awkwardness and I found my way back into my BS room. His bro ended up telling him about it and he was surprisingly okay. What I didn't know at the time it happened was that Nick had a GF who looked similar to me and in his slumber he just assumed I was her. He actually told her to and she was also surprisingly cool with it. So yes, I was attracted to them both at first and almost slept with them both on the same night. But their personalities changed the way I looked at them individually as time went on. I'm currently dating someone who has an identical twin. It's a little weird as the sister is one of my best friends, but that would be the case even if they weren't twins. I originally had a crush on my so's twin but I was way too scared to ask her out. But that's fizzled now so it's not a problem. They also don't look very similar even though they are identical, due to medical reasons. Edit 1. Added comma to avoid confusion. Edit 2. Twin 2 is a paraplegic, so she looks different and more obviously, she's in a wheelchair. I'm dating twin 1. My girlfriend has an identical twin sister. She's Indian. I'm white. Both of them have jet black hair, perfect white teeth, same skin tone, same figure, same height, everything. Her twin is dating my best friend who has similar features to me. Weird enough, they are both gorgeous, but I'm not attracted to her like I am to my girlfriend. Finding the differences when I first met them was embarrassingly difficult, but now I can tell from all angles. Never had any mishaps or confusion of who is who while we were dating. And yes, we affectionately call them the Twindians. Girl twin here. Just on the other side of things, I can't tell you how difficult it was to find someone who wasn't completely infatuated and intrigued by my twin and I. Almost all of my relationships, my so would somehow get in touch with my sister and ask for nudes. It's always been extremely hard on me, and I have a lot of self-esteem issues in result. To cope with it, I just get out of the situation and remind myself some people are just the way they are. And that means there will be someone who is good enough to see and want my identity only. I mean, why wouldn't you be attracted to them? Cheat. Just cause you're dating someone doesn't mean you're magically not attracted to people. Just don't duck other people. It's not that hard. Jesus. My wife's identical twin sister is the most annoying person ever. Funny. After identical twin, my iPhone suggested the rest of the sentence. My parents met because my dad went up to my mom, grabbed her ass, and said last night was fun. Turns out my party animal aunt had been at a party and boned my dad the night before. My extremely prim and proper mother was mortified and ran away. My dad saw my aunt again later and was like, "What was that this morning?" And my aunt had to explain. He later saw my mom and apologized, and about 5 years later they ran into each other again and he made sure he knew which one she was when they started talking. Dad and aunt now hate each other. My best friend, a dude, had a twin sister that I always had the hots for. But I couldn't bring myself to ask her out because she looked too much like him. It was awkward. To all of the people saying that the other twin was a jerk, let me shed some light. Sometimes guys will be standoffish to their brother or friend's significant other so that they aren't perceived as being competition for said mate. Probably doubly so for twins where attractiveness is equal. It's just a way of keeping a relationship out of the way of friendship or family. I tend to get love tunnel vision when I'm into someone, so I haven't had this problem. They both had very different personalities, which made it easy to tell them apart. Sadly, the twist is his twin like me. I had to explain about my love tunnel vision and that it only works for that one person and not anyone who looks like that person. It was not a fun conversation, but he was cool and mature about it. I dated a twin. I never messed them up, which was good. But there was this one time my girlfriend asked me if I wanted to play a game. I said sure. She showed me a bunch of old pictures of her and her twin sister and asked me to figure out which she was. I'm thinking, duck, I'd better know. This is probably a test. But I ended up getting really lucky because she seemed to almost always be the one in pink or the one on the left, lol. I asked her if she could tell. And she said no. She just memorized where she was. If it was her first time seeing them, she never would have been able to guess correctly each time. IDK what kind of chance she thought I had, or if she just wanted me to suffer. Luckily I was pretty good at the game, lol. Miso has an identical twin. I'm not attracted to the twin at all. They look very much alike, but they have very different personalities and style. It helps that they were raised as separate individuals. Never wore the same clothes, for example. I dated a twin years ago. The brother I dated would light up when I walked into a room. The other one treated me like I was in the way. Plus he was a surly, kind of jerky guy. They were both good looking. But the one I dated was just a beautiful person. Edit, I know which one I was dating. Capital A. Their haircuts were very different. Capital B. One worked a job cooking and had a noticeable burn mark on his arm. Capital C. The brother had a vicious sense of humor. He wasn't funny to anyone but himself and his pack of bros. Capital D. They dressed very different. It was 15 years ago. We lived in a small, shitty town with not much going for it. He got an opportunity. He went for it. There was no way in hell I was going to hold him back from escape. We only dated for a matter of months anyway. So it wasn't worth all of that yet. Yes. We were both sad. It was a good decision anyway. We met working in a diner. If anyone would have qualified as a gold digger, it would have been him. I made way more money as a server. All in all, our lives worked out. I met my husband about a year later. I have 2 daughters. He married a lady with a little girl. They had a little boy a few months ago. We both escaped our desperate little town eventually. Just not together. And that's perfectly okay. The twin sister was a Rick. It was a huge turn off. I just reminded myself that I already knew what she looked like naked.